All right, take your Bibles and turn to Revelation chapter 3. And we're looking at the message to the pastor in Philadelphia today. Getting right through these. We only got this one and one pastor left to get through as far as doing an overview of all of them. And we're going to go back through and highlight some things for the rest of the semester, but some lessons that we can learn, specific things that we can deduce from these lessons that the Lord wants every pastor to know, and I think the Lord wants all churches and Christians to know about the role of a pastor. So, but first we have to get through actually looking at each one of these, and then we can go back and do an overview. And we're getting close to the end here. I can't believe we're already in Philadelphia, so that's gone by quickly. So here we are in verse 7, Revelation 3:7. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works, behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. So that is the personal message to the pastor of Philadelphia. Then we get into the general message from the Spirit to the churches. In verse 12 says, Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God. And I will write upon him my new name. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. And there's a lot of really cool stuff in that that we will not, unfortunately, have time to really get into and dig into that. It could be a whole another series of lessons on the general messages from the Spirit to the churches, the things that the Spirit say to the churches. That'd be a whole nother series of study that we could do, but we do not have time for it in this class. We are focusing on the lessons to the pastors right here. So let's go back and look at the personalized introduction. As I've said many times, each of these 7 messages are broken into 3 parts. You've got your personalized introduction, and then you have the personal message to the pastor, and then you have that general message from the Spirit to the churches. So the personalized introduction, the Lord speaking of himself says, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. So this is how the Lord wants this man to see him. And this is an encouraging one. we talked about, like when he says, I'm the one that has the sword coming out of my mouth, like that's not good. It's kind of like, my dad used to say, I've got a belt. It's like that wasn't, just to let you know that he could hold his pants up, that let you know that he could punish you if he needed to, right? Hi, Dad. He watches these. So, when he says, I'm the one that has the sword, that's not good. But when he says here, I'm the one who is holy and who is true, I'm the one that has the key of David, that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth, that is encouraging. And this idea here of the key of David, that he has the key of David, that is a direct reference to Isaiah chapter 22. So let's go over to Isaiah chapter 22 and have a look at that. He's directly referencing Isaiah 22, verse 22. But let's go back and get a little bit of context here. Let's go to verse 17. Behold, the Lord will carry thee away with a mighty captivity, and will surely cover thee. He will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. There shalt thou die, and there the chariots of thy glory shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. And I will drive thee from thy station, and from thy state shall he pull thee down. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and I will clothe him with thy robe, and strengthen him with thy girdle, and I will commit thy government into his hand. And he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to the house of Judah, and the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. So he shall open, and none shall shut, and he shall shut, and none shall open. So obviously, you read those words in verse 22, and that rings a bell. We just read those same words in Revelation chapter 3. Right there. The Lord is saying, I'm the one who has the key of David, and I open, and no man shuts. I shut, and no man opens. The concept here, what he's kind of calling us back to when he quotes Isaiah 22 like that, is he's drawing our attention, and really this pastor, he's speaking to the pastor of Philadelphia. Apparently, he expects that man to be familiar with the book of Isaiah. he expects him to be able to catch the reference, and so that right there, you can kind of infer from that the Lord is expecting that this man is a studious man. He's a man who knows the word. Obviously, the Lord knows this pastor inside and out. He knows everything about him. He says, I know thy works. And the fact that he makes this reference to this passage in Isaiah, I had to look it up. It's like it rung a bell. I was like, I know that there's a reference to that. And so, I was able to type in those words in a computer program and look it up. I was like, oh yeah, I actually looked at that years ago, and I'd forgotten all about it. But this guy, the pastor of Philadelphia, he didn't have a computer program, right? He couldn't go in and type those words in and be like, where have I heard that before? For him to get the reference, he had to be a student of the word. He had to actually have been somebody who studies to show himself approved, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So clearly, this man, this pastor of Philadelphia, was a man of the word. And I know we're basing that off of just this tiny little clue, but we're only given some tiny clues about these guys. And I believe it's a reasonable deduction that we can make from this, that the Lord just makes this obscure reference. And I believe he expects the man to get the reference. I believe it was a comfort. What do we learn from looking at this passage in Isaiah 22? What is it that Jesus is saying to this guy? He's saying, I'm the one who has the key of David. I can open and no man shuts. Like, oh, okay, but what's he really telling this guy? What's the reference here? The idea you see in verse 21, I will clothe him with thy robe and strengthen him with thy girdle, and I will commit thy government into his hand. And he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. So what the original passage in Isaiah is talking about is the fact that God is in charge of the governments. He's in charge of who's ruling. He can switch out a king and put another king in his place. He absolutely can take the government of a nation and place it upon another man's shoulder if he wants to. He's in charge. Now, that would be a comfort if you were living in those days, the days that the book of Revelation was written. Those are the days that Emperor Trajan came into power, and the persecution that arose under Trajan. It's called the third persecution, but that was it was a widespread, kind of a worldwide, really bad persecution that was going on. And the fact that the Lord is calling this man's mind back to a passage that talks about how the Lord can rule in the affairs of men, how he can actually switch out a ruler if he wants to, that he's in charge of Israel. Specifically, the key of David would be talking about who's ruling in Jerusalem, who's in charge.